Is anyone out there? Can you hear me? Got some E string problems happening. Hold on. Well, you get the idea. Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me on this Sunday afternoon, depending on where you are. Thank you all for joining me. This is my first live stream in quite a while. I think in over 8 months, and a lot has happened in 8 months. I hope you all had a good New Year, holidays, and yeah, I hope that you're all doing well. Gotta take care of this high E. I'm doing a kind of a gear demo actually, where I'm doing a string shootout on this J160. So right now I have some Martin retro strings on here. They are normal acoustic strings, and it just isn't happy with that high E. But hey everyone, who's here? Jacob K is here. Henry number 3. Hello from New Zealand. I've always wanted to go to New Zealand. So you guys are hearing me okay and seeing me okay? I got a new webcam. I think this looks a lot better at least. So let's see. Who's here? Luke D9 is here. David Zenner is here. Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you guys for subscribing to my channel and watching and supporting everything I do. This past year has been amazing. As I said, I haven't done a live stream in since May 2023, and I've gotten a new guitar since then. I have gotten married since then. I started a new podcast with my YouTube Beatles buddies, Michael Sokil, Ryan Martin, Paulie Pesos, and Dom Rossi. That occurred in June of this past year, and it's been incredible. Gear There and Everywhere, if you guys haven't checked that out. Let's see what you guys are saying to me, though. You had a high E problem, yes. Bend the high E a few times, it always works. Yeah. Oh boy. I'm always afraid it's gonna fly in my face and hit my eyeball. It's an irrational fear, but Rocky Raccoon says, where are the Badfinger covers? I did Baby Blue last year, and I have more planned. Already some recorded actually, so get excited for that. Someone said the sound is good. That's great to hear. Emmanuel Mendoza says, Gear There and Everywhere is soon. Good, I love it. Beatles are cool. Man, what a year it has been for your channel. Yeah, I just wanted to capture everything that has been happening in my life and on this channel. It's been amazing. You guys helped me get to 15,000 subscribers, so thank you very much. I've gotten 2 guitars in the last year. This is my most recent, obviously, the 1966 Gibson J160, which I'm going to do a lot of covers on this year. You know, every Beatle besides Ringo owned one. And yes, Paul did own one at some point. So a lot of covers to come. What else? The podcast, Gear There and Everywhere, started in June. And yeah, you guys have helped that channel a lot as well. We have a lot of new exciting episodes coming out. Sorry, Sunday morning, I'm still waking up. I got my English breakfast tea here. So yeah, new guitar. The other new guitar that I got was about a year ago in February. I got the J200, the Ibanez J200 copy from the 70s. I love that thing. A lot more covers to come with that. Aiden Nielsen Bork says, do you plan on putting Gear There and Everywhere on Spotify? Yes. So Gear There and Everywhere, as you know, is on YouTube only right now, but we hope to get it up and running on your favorite podcast streaming sites. As I said before, Michael Sokill just joined the podcast, which is incredible. I'm sure all of you know him. If not, check him out. He's been doing the Beatles cover stuff before any of us. I think in like 2009, when YouTube was only in like 480 streaming or 240. Um, and Dom Rossi is another member who does incredible Beatles covers on his channel. Much better than mine, I have to say. Ryan Martin is the other one, Man with No Expression, and he does incredible Beatles covers as well as Hollies, Birds, and other kind of lesser known 60s bands, which I find really cool because everyone's done a Hard Day's Night cover. You all know how to play that one. But Ryan covers songs that no one would ever cover on YouTube, but probably would want them to because they're really cool. And the other member is Paulie Pesos, who is Guitar Gear Connection. Check him out. He does gear demos and has the most incredible Beatles setup. He has vintage Vox amps covering his walls. He has vintage J160s and amazing guitars and does shootouts and gear demos. And he's just a nice guy. He's been talking a lot about the Beatles' use of flat wound strings, as some of you might know. So right now on this J160, I have the Martin Retro 12 gauge acoustic strings. Previously, I had Ernie Ball electric round wound strings on this 11s, and I've been using that for my Lovely Rita cover, Bungalow Bill. Check those out. And that was mainly because Paul from Gear There and Everywhere told me and a lot of people that the Beatles used electric guitar strings on their J160s, which is unusual for an acoustic guitar. There's been a lot of debate, as some of you might know, on Instagram about this. So right now I'm doing the string shootout, got the Martins on here. Next, I'm doing Pyramid flat wound strings, and I will be doing some early Beatles covers. As a little clue for you all. But let me answer some of your questions before I keep blabbing. Jacob K says, you met up with that Jacob K guy. Yes, I did. I got to meet up with Jacob K in New York a few months ago, and today happens to be his birthday. So happy birthday, Jacob K. You're a good man. And go check out his channel too, where I and a few other favorites appear. Are you going to do Small Faces covers sometime? They're not my favorite 60s group. Itchy U Park is great. I'll think about that one. I think they used Gretsch Tennessee and Steve Marriott, so there's definitely some opportunities there. What's your take on the flat wounds controversy, Henry number 3? Well, that is the controversy. Did the Beatles use flat wounds as much as we think they did? Guitar Gear Connection keeps saying that they didn't use flat wounds, maybe on their basses and a few guitars. And he's been showing pictures of the Beatles, like close-ups of their strings, and some of them he actually sourced like Gretsch factory strings. And he's been doing incredible research, which has convinced me they probably didn't use flat wounds as much as we think they did. I'm still going to try it on this just because it's my new 1966 guitar and want to see what it does. But yeah, I think that Paul's onto something. I don't think flats were on the guitars as much as we think. B Rico says pyramids on my 57 J160 thoughts. You'll have to stick around and watch my new gear demo that I'm working on at the moment, where you can test out, where I will be testing out the pyramids versus the Martin strings versus the Ernie Ball. So I do think that it is worth trying, at least on your J160. Michael Sokill used Pyramid 11s on some of his covers. Dom Rossi, a lot of guys use Pyramids, and they sound great. Beatles are cool. Hey Sam, what's your favorite guitar that you don't own? Oh boy. So the guitars that I want this year, and if not this year, then eventually, are a Rickenbacker bass, or Backer. I know I always say Bacher. A 4003S, probably the Fire Glow Paul McCartney one, and also a Gretsch 6120, which is the orange Chet Atkins one. That's my dream electric guitar that I don't own. David Zenner, where is home for you? Home is New York in America. Turn left at Greenland. I thought there were two J160s. McCartney had an Epiphone Texan, Chris Starr. You are correct. Paul did not own a J160 during the Beatles, as far as I know, but you do see him with one that looks kind of similar to this. It's a little later with the square shoulders in the Bit Bop music video, so check that out. Yeah, Paul did own a J160 at some point. Epiphone Texan is different. It is their version of a J45, which doesn't have electronics. Yeah, essentially, a Texan is like a J45. Well, J45s don't have electrics either, but J160s do, as you can see with the pickup. I'll just show you guys this beautiful guitar because it's my new one, and that's always the most exciting. It's a real 1966 that I got recently. A dear friend helped me out with this one. I should just mention him, Peter Siegel, Asbury Park Vintage Guitars, actually last year helped me out with this guitar, and also he lent me the Gretsch 12-string, the Guild 12-string that I used on While My Guitar Gently Weeps and a few other covers, and the Country Gentleman, the 67 Country Gent I used last year as well. So thank you, Peter. Is that a cat walking around in the background? Hey, David Montes asked that. David Montes, you guys need to check him out. He is the best Beatles drummer, cover guy on YouTube. Literally, he's incredible. Yes, that is my cat. Probably can't see right now, but hopefully won't be too disruptive. How does the J160 compare to the J45? That is another video that I'm working on at the moment, but I'll give you a basic idea. It's very similar looking guitar. The J45 has dot inlays. It came with the white plastic button tuners, although mine has these green Clousons on it. The J45 does not have electronics, so no pickup, no knobs. And also the J160 meets the body a little bit later on the 15th fret. The J45 and the neck and the body meet on the 14th fret. So it's a little bit more compact in a way. They sound very similar, but the top on the J160 is a laminate top. It's not a solid top, so the quality isn't as good on this as the J45. And part of the reason for that is they actually made some of these J160s with a solid top in the mid 50s, and it produced a lot of feedback with this pickup. So having a less sustaining tone of wood helped to kill that feedback. So that's why the J160 has a little bit less mid-range and loveliness to it acoustically, but obviously it still sounds great. Still, I mean, it's the sound of the Beatles, so how bad can it be, right? Got a lot of questions coming in. I just want to say hi to everyone who has joined, and thank you for joining. When can I use the Klon Centaur in the Beatles songs? When can you? I don't know. I have a Klon KTR pedal, which is like the more modern. It's a real Klon, but it's the more modern version of the Centaur. I use that on a lot of covers, actually. I've Got a Feeling, I Me Mine. It's a great pedal. Emmanuel Mendoza, I have a question. If I wanted to buy a Casino or a Les Paul, which one should I buy? That is a great question. It depends how Beatlesy you want to go, what era you're looking to play, what era of Beatles songs or music you want to play. A Casino is fully hollow. A Les Paul is solid, so it doesn't feed back. The Casino does feedback a little bit because of its hollowness, and it has single coil pickups in it. A Les Paul has humbuckers, so it's a little bit more punchy and better for rock music. They're both great. I think at Casino you can get a little bit cheaper and better. The Les Paul, in my opinion, you have to spend a little bit more to get a really good one, but that's up for debate. Beatles fan said, "Hey, just want to say how much love from Australia. I love your videos. They're amazing. Thank you so much." And thank you guys for joining me. I hope you're all doing well and had a happy new year. I wanted to let you know that I'm just going to plug myself right now. I have Instagram Shire_Plucker that you can follow, my personal Instagram account. And then I have my Beatles fan page where I post about the Get Back sessions. It's called 3 Savile Row. And I post this month, especially because it was in January of '69, I post every day that there was a session. So go check out 3 Savile Row. I have a shop where I sell Beatles merch on 3 Savile Row at 3savilerow.com. So go check that out. Don't forget the weird bend that John does. He's talking about Taste of Honey. I haven't figured that one out yet, but he's right. Any plans for George? Mama, You've Been on My Mind. That's a great one. I need to get back into the George Harrison solo covers. It's hard when I have the new J160. I want to go earlier. I haven't done Please Please Me songs yet, so might have to wait a little bit, but yes, I definitely will. Someone on Facebook said that flatwound players suck, and I brought up Paul, and he told me that rounds didn't exist in the 60s. Well, the latter part is wrong. Round wounds did exist even in the 1950s. There's a misconception that there were only flat wound strings early on and that you couldn't get anything else. It is true that the strings that our favorite players used in the early 60s or late 50s were very thick, which is maybe why people think they were flat wounds. But there was a trick. James Burton from Ricky Nelson, who played with Elvis later on, he figured out how to put on banjo light gauge strings on his electric and do all these bends. So a lot of players started scrapping their G string and putting on a banjo one. And you see the Beatles messing around with all that stuff. But no, the round wounds did exist. The Beatles did use round wounds early on, and flat wounds. I think they use flat wounds as well, but it's a bit of both. Are you familiar with Steve Hackett? I think he's from Genesis, which is a great band. I don't listen to them enough, but yeah, great band. How do you convince your wife to let you buy more guitars? Are you interested in doing more covers outside the Beatles? A lot of my guitars aren't necessarily ones I've bought, even they're gifts or over the year. I've been playing since I was 11, so it's a long time that I've acquired this collection, and I'm very lucky. And as I said, got help with this J160. So my wife, we're building a life together. It's not easy to afford more guitars, but if you guys want to donate to my channel, who knows, maybe I can afford a Hofner or something. And I should say too, if you want to super chat, if I'm not getting to any of your questions and you want to leave a little donation, I will absolutely answer your question if you leave a little tip, and I will try to answer as many as I can, even if you don't pay, obviously, but it would be much appreciated. What was the first song you learned to play all the way through? I started playing around 2004 or 5, and I remember like American Idiot was a big album, so I think I learned American Idiot all the way through. God, I have to think about that. I learned a lot of like Who, Beatles, AC/DC was big. Highway to Hell for me early on. I know McCartney rented a J160 in 2002 for studio use. Wasn't aware he owned one. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know about more recently, 2002. I'm talking about 1970, 71. There's a video of him playing Bit Bop on his J160. Music by KR says, I have a J160 and I'm thinking about whether I should play through the amp or through a microphone without an amp? Oh, you're talking about live. It depends. So obviously, it's a great acoustic guitar, but when you plug it in, it sounds very different. It has a P90 pickup. It's very warm sounding. It's not like most electric guitars. I wouldn't use it as your main electric guitar sound, unless you're doing, those early Beatles songs only. So it depends. If you want a more just acousticy sound, I would mic it up. If you want that specific kind of early 60s honky electric sound, plug it into an amp. Let's see. I would love to see something done by you, David, Michael, and the other Gear There and Everywhere members. There's a good tribute band right there. Yeah. Well, a lot of us have played on Jacob K's channel. David and I and Grant Gerlosh. But yes, I want to do more with David because he's an incredible drummer. Michael and I have collaborated a little bit so far. But yeah, we're talking about that in the podcast. We're all doing the same thing here, Beatles covers. So it'd be nice to get together and do like a big, crazy cover together. Do you plan on starting an Abley House style channel with David Montes? That's kind of the same question. Or someone who plays left-handed bass. I don't. I've only met a few of these YouTube guys in person, and we're all kind of scattered. So I can't imagine we'd all be in the same room. But as I said, we can do covers remotely and kind of combine them into one thing. But I don't know about a channel. It's a little impractical. I think Abley House even some of their members moved, and things happen in life where you just can't all be in the same place, unfortunately. But I think Abley House, they're still doing covers. I saw a new one recently. Hello from Russia. Hello. Would you ever do more Twickenham covers? It'd be cool to see you cover You Wear Your Woman Out using the ES5. Wow, that is a deep cut. George used a Gibson archtop briefly in 68, 69. You can see him for 1 millisecond in the Get Back sessions using ES5. I don't actually know that song that well, though. But yes, Twickenham covers for sure. I love doing that kind of more obscure stuff. Great videos on your 3 Savile Row account. I'm the guy who sometimes shares your reels on Instagram. Maybe you know the account. I have an idea who that might be. Yeah, thank you for that. And yeah, please check out my 3 Savile Row account where I post reels from the Get Back movie, Let It Be movie, anthology, anything related to the 69, 60 sessions. Let's see. Stop by to say hello. The Motor Trade. Hello, lovely Rita. I mean, Rick. Yeah, thank you everyone for joining. I'm just going to say, if you're just joining, thank you for coming along on this Sunday. I hope you're doing well. This is just a time to answer some questions and have fun, and also to plug myself a little bit and just, yeah, go check out my Instagram, Shire Plucker, or 3 Savile Row. I have my merch on 3 Savile Row. You can buy Baseman stickers for your Hofner. We have set list stickers for the 66 Hofner set lists that Paul had, mugs and candles and all those great things. Actually, we don't have mugs at the moment, but I'm hoping to get some Get Back ones eventually. Okay, maybe I'll play a little bit of music. seems like my high E string issue is resolved already. So thank you, whoever told me to bend that high E string. Let me try to get to some more of your questions because they're coming in fast. And if you can't get a hold of me and I'm not seeing your question, you can always super chat me and I will absolutely answer. Let's see. Are you planning to do Hold On by John Lennon? Absolutely. I just put a new pick guard on my P bass, so it looks more like Klaus Voormann's. So I'm going to do some Imagine Plastic Ono Band stuff very soon. Any plans to do the other 60s groups like the Yardbirds, Turn Into Earth? Yeah, Yardbirds are another one that I'm not into like Yardbirds, Small Faces as much. I love the Who, the Animals, the Stones. So definitely, and Beach Boys. There's going to be a lot of other ones, not just Beatles. So look out for a lot of other bands. You should cover some Beach Boys with your bass six. I Get Around. I've thought about that one. They actually used a Dan Electro baritone bass, but very similar sounding. Do you know the strings Macca uses on his Martin? Maybe Pyramids. I don't. That might be a question for Guitar Gear Connection. I don't know. I think Paul used just acoustic strings like I'm using right now. Just, phosphor bronze or 80/20s or something like that. Are there any Rolling Stones covers in the works? Sort of. Not at the moment, but I have one planned featuring a very special instrument that I have. Have you ever tried the J160 plugged in with distortion fuzz? I don't think so. That's a great idea. It might feed back, but let's find out. Jacob K, tell us the story about that deluxe reverb back there. That's another thing that I acquired this past year. Right here is a newer deluxe reverb from 2008, and it happened to belong to a little someone named Jacob K, who actually sold me this special amp that has a personal story behind it. So thank you, Jacob K, for the amp. Okay, what else here? Do you still have the Rosewood Telly? I do not. So that's another thing. So I got to borrow a lot of guitars last year, mainly through Peter Siegel, the Gill 12-string, Gretsch Country Gent. This guitar I was actually borrowing for a while before I acquired it. And then my guitar tech, Will Van Sice, was very generous and lent me the Rosewood Telly, which I do not have anymore, unfortunately. I had to give it back. I did some more covers, though, with it that I just need to finish. So I have some more 69 era songs that are half done that will be coming out probably in the next month. So look out for those. Fernando S joined the stream. Hello, Fernando. I actually bought the Basement sticker from your shop, Aiden. Thank you so much. Yeah, go to 3 Savile Row, get your Basement sticker for your Hofner, if you so wish. Do you know how to play the demo version of Light That Has Lighted the World? Yes. So the album version, I believe, is in G. But I believe the demo version you're talking about is with a 12 string, and I think it might be in E. I could be wrong about that. I think it's in E, and you play it kind of like that. I'm getting it wrong, but see if I'm right if it's an E. Dan Relayer, hey dude. Hey Dan, how's it going? Thank you everyone for joining. CB, would you ever do a late career McCartney moment? Friends to Go, Dominoes, Early Days, Kiss of Venus. Yeah, the Chaos and Creation in the Backyard album is one of my favorite McCartney albums. You get Jenny Wren. I mean, what a great song. Friends to Go is another great one. Definitely definitely, yeah, some more McCartney solo stuff to come. Kyle Smith, I dig what you do. You're extremely talented. Thank you, Kyle. Few questions. Ever need anything mixed? Hit me up. Secondly, any Stones, Led Zeppelin, Bob Dylan content of interest to you in covering like this? Yeah, I mix my own stuff. I have Pro Tools and I kind of figured out my own way of doing things, but absolutely Dylan, Stones, and Zeppelin, all to come. I'm huge, huge fan of all of those. David Montes, I just lost it. Ever plan on doing Decca audition stuff? I would, but I don't have a Gretsch DuoJet or a Rick 325, which is a shame. But if I did, I absolutely would. Maybe one day. Leo Hesse says, "Hello, David." Yeah, David is the real celebrity here in this group chat. David Montes, what a drummer, keyboard player, percussionist, crazy. Let's see. Plan on covering this song J160 and Two Tennesseans. I think Henry's talking about Babies in Black. Yeah, I want to cover it. It's funny because the Gretsch Bigsby part, the Tennessean, was John Lennon kneeled down and used the volume knob on George's guitar instead of George doing a foot pedal swell. So I might need to find someone to kneel down and manually run my volume knob as I do the cover. Hey Sam, any tips on how to get the tone on Lennon's Casino on Monkey? Yes, so I think it would be bridge pickup. It's very thin sounding. I would plug into a deluxe reverb or a clean Fender and then run some kind of bright overdrive, kind of on boost, not too crunchy. You don't want too much distortion on it. And then a little slapback reverb or delay. Yeah, that's a great one. Yeah, Henry said Monkey. I think it was Casino and Deluxe Reverb. Yep, very bright. The Beatles love that B7 chord. Oh yeah, that was that great story. They heard some story from a guy in Liverpool who knew that chord, and they took a bus just to meet him. The days before the internet, so to find someone who knew the chord, you actually had to travel physically. Alfred Warner, hey Alfred, how you doing? I've always liked that turnaround in Babies in Black. Oh man, me too. I just realized someone said live stream audio quality is very bad when I play the guitar. Well, some of you have at least picked out what I'm playing, which is good. Thomas says, hi Sam, greetings from Brazil. Hello, how you doing? Hi Brazil. I love Brazil. I want to go. Beatles are cool. Hey Sam, do you like CCR? I love CCR. That was actually one of the first songs I learned to play on guitar. What a great song. What a great band. CCR is incredible. Someone said, can you talk a bit about the amps you use, effects, like the Dr. Robert pedal from Brian in Canada? Hey, Brian. So as you can see, I use AC30 amp, my Pro Reverb, Deluxe Reverb, Bassman, and this little Tweed Champ. Most of my covers are with the Bassman. I find that big Fender clean amps are just really good at taking any pedal without it squashing too much. I'm getting used to this AC30 and obviously using it a lot for my early covers. But I find that with my pedal board, I really like the way they run into clean, loud amps. Some people are the opposite. It doesn't squash enough and it's too unruly. But yeah, my amp setup, I usually go into the normal channel of my Bassman. I run my Analog Man King of Tone boost a lot. So that just gets a little bit of crunch. I don't use too much like effects like reverb delay on my board because if I'm doing anything specific, I can run it in a plugin like my Abbey Road Waves plugins. The AC30 I run into the top boost channel like the Beatles did. I use my Champ mainly for kind of like George Harrison, like early 70s stuff with Slide. It's really nice, or Derek and the Dominoes. It's not great at taking pedals because it's only 5 watts and really small. The Pro Reverb is the main amp for the rooftop because it's like my twin reverb kind of amp. So I just love loud, clean Fenders. I don't think there's anything like them. Let's see. How about some Badfinger album tracks? Yes, I said I will do. Already have done some Badfinger in the past and working on some at the moment. So definitely. Zachary Brown, hello. Klaus Vorman bass sound is very unique. Yes, Klaus used a little piece of foam under his the end of his bridge or whatever to make it more muted with flat wounds. Let's see. What was guitar the first instrument you ever learned? No, actually, I played a little violin and piano when I was very young, but that was kind of like any kid who is kind of learning a new instrument. I learned guitar when I was 11 and haven't looked back. It's been consistent. I really enjoy your Who covers. Hope you do Pinball Wizard sometime. Yes, with my J200 and my SG Special, plenty of Who covers to come. Yeah, Who are my favorite 60s band other than the Beatles. Ever seen what me and the Get Back work camp has done to sync up the footage sources to the raw Niagara tapes? No, I haven't. As a Get Back fan, you'll probably love it. That sounds like what I do on my 3 Salvo Row account. I combine all of the different Get Back, Let It Be anthology clips with the real tapes that I have too. So you're doing exactly what I do. That's cool. Leo Hesse, can I have a link to your shop? I will include that in the description, but it's 3, the number 3, Savile with 1L, row.com, where you can buy stickers, candles, and merch. Are you planning on performing at Beatles Fest? Yes. So I've been talking about all the things that have happened to me in the past year, which I still haven't gotten through. But the very exciting thing for me is that I'm playing Beatles Fest February 10th in New York City. It's at the TWA Hotel. I'll be playing with Andrew Weiss and Friends. It's a New York, Long Island-based band that I've been playing with the past year or so. We got to do some amazing gigs this past year. And so, yeah, come meet me in person at Beatle Fest. I'll be the one who looks like this. You doing Led Zeppelin? That would be rad. Yes, I will do Led Zeppelin. I have the Les Paul. Absolutely. Let's see. Will you be covering Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band soon? Yes. A lot of casino stuff on there. Dom Rossi did an amazing version though, so go check out Dom Rossi's cover because I don't think I can do it any better. Henry number 3, that song was Paul and George Casino Rhythm, Paul Esquire lead. That's about Sgt. Pepper. Will you cover Bird songs? Yes. David Crosby used a Tennessean, and Jim McGuinn used a Rickenbacker 36012. I have both those guitars, so I will do that. But go check out Man with No Expression, who does the same thing. I mean, what you're describing. It's perfect. Two of Us intro. That's how it's done. Ever plan on doing a guitar cover of And I Love Her, if you haven't already? Yeah, I have a classical guitar, a cheapie, but this guitar was what John used, so. Yep, definitely very soon. Never seen someone cover that song with a lead Esquire, only seen Casinos. Dom Rossi covered Sgt. Pepper with just Casinos. I think that's very possible. You do see Paul, there's pictures of Paul with an Esquire for the lead song, lead guitar for that song. I don't know. I think could have been either. I would love to see some Cream covers. Yes, I love Cream. The first album of Fresh Cream, Eric Clapton used a Gibson Les Paul Standard Burst like I have, and Jack Bruce used a Fender Bass 6. So I'm already set up to do that. So I'm going to do some early Cream covers very soon, if I haven't already. Who do you think played guitar on It's All Too Much? I think that was John. This is a can of worms that deserves a Gear There and Everywhere episode. I think it could have been John, but it couldn't have been John's Casino that he used, because you hear the intro has a whammy bar on it. So I think it was probably Paul or George, at least their guitars, because they had the whammy bar stuff. And it had to be a Casino, I believe, because it was feeding back. It was the perfect song for that kind of thing. So no John Casino, yes, Paul or George Casino, whoever played that, is my opinion. Did you ever do any Donovan covers? Oh man, I love Donovan. I've been listening to a lot of Donovan, and he played a J45, but very similar looking to this guitar, Cherry Sunburst. He is just incredible. He taught the Beatles, he taught John Lennon the picking style on Dear Prudence. So, I mean, his music is even better, but that's a pretty cool fact, I think. Any wish list gear insights for this year? So yes, I mentioned it before. I want a Rickenbacker bass 4003S Fireglow, a Gretsch 6120, and a Hofner at some point. Those are the main three. Do you have a Hofner bass guitar? Someone asked. No, I don't. It's pretty crazy that I don't. I've always wanted the Rick instead, but I want both, you know. Hofners are a little cheaper to come by, so I think it's more realistic I'll get a Hofner sooner, but I really want the Rickenbacker. Where are you based out of? New York, near New York City. Andrew Weiss from Ween and Rollins Band. No, so I've been playing with Andrew Weiss and Friends, who is not the Andrew Weiss bassist from the band Ween. Funnily enough, the band Ween is from my hometown in Pennsylvania, New Hope, but no, Andrew Weiss is a different musician. Andrew Weiss and Friends, I've been playing with them, and we actually got to play a great show this past July in Washington, D.C. We played Nationals Park, which is the baseball stadium where the Nationals baseball team plays. We got to open up, sing the national anthem before the baseball game, and we did a Grateful Dead cover band where we played in front of almost 5,000 people, and we're probably going to do it this year again if any of you are in the DC area. Let's see. Beatlefest is happening the same weekend as my birthday. David Montes. Wish I could attend. Oh man, I wish David could be there. If any of you guys are in the New York area, please come to Beatlesfest. February 10th, I'll be playing with Andrew Weiss and Friends. Hey Sam, you should do some Please Please Me covers with your classical. Well, the Beatles didn't use a classical on Please Please Me, but they used this guitar quite a lot, and I teased a little bit of what I'm covering at the moment. Please Please Me is one of my favorite albums of all time. Yeah, very soon, very soon. Any updates on getting a Rickenbacker bass? I was just saying I want one. I don't have the financial ability at the moment, but oh man, do I want one. Hey, I enjoy your channel a lot. I really enjoy the album of original music on your channel too. Are you still making original music? Thomas Riley. Yes, I have I made an album in 2015, 3 Miles Gone, that you can find on my channel. It's in a playlist called 3 Miles Gone. That was a long time ago. I've made music since with my band Uncle Kingsley, who you can find on Spotify. I'm also working on a solo album at the moment that will come out hopefully in the next few months. So check out my Bandcamp. You can check out my current music or my YouTube channel. But yeah, look out for a new album soon. And thank you for the kind words, Thomas. Any tips on how to get Lennon's Casino tone during the rooftop performance? It's from Tony. I am actually working on a video where I show how to do that, because I was pretty happy with the tones I got for I've Got a Feeling especially. I used 2 pedals in particular into this Pro Reverb amp. So using a similar amp as the Twin Reverb, but then getting the crunch using some pedals, I think it's very possible. Also, Lennon had a certain configuration with his tone and volume knobs. So look out for a video I will be doing very soon. Yes. Can you play Mother Nature's Son, please? Sergey, yes. Not playing that exactly right, but you get the idea. Let's see. Any plans to do some Velvet Underground? Really enjoyed your collab with Luca Cola. Yeah, check out Luca Cola. Is a really awesome young Beatles cover guy on YouTube from Scotland. And I did, while I still had my country gentleman, Gretsch, I did some early Lou Reed Velvet Underground songs with him. Unfortunately, I don't have the country gentleman anymore, so I can't do that. But yeah, eventually Velvet Underground, I love them. Seth says, huge fan of your covers, Sam. Thank you so much, Seth. That's so nice. If you guys want to also super chat me, that is available. I appreciate that. Goes towards a new guitar, whichever one that might be. Rooftop was Casino Bridge pickup with tone rolled off into Twin Reverb. That is correct. How to get that tone is another thing, which I will make a video on. I'm glad that you love The Who. Any chance you would cover Sunrise by them? Wow, that's a rare one on a 12 string. I really like that one. And I've never quite figured out how to play because it's kind of weird. So yes, eventually I will. Oh my goodness. My cat is crazy. A Light My Fire cover would be great. Yes. So I have a Gibson SG Special, which is what Robbie Krieger used on the first Doors album. So I want to do a lot more Doors covers. Liam Ania is a guy that you guys need to check out on YouTube as well. He does amazing Vox Continental, Ray Manzarek, Animals, John Lennon, Continental stuff. He's just an incredible keyboardist, and we're having him on Gear There and Everywhere very soon. So look out for that episode. So I'm thinking of doing some Ray Doors collaboration stuff with him. If you ever plan on doing tutorials on slide guitar, Van Dude. Another video that I plan on doing very soon is a tutorial on George Harrison's Open E slide tuning with the resonator guitar that I have and my Stratocaster. He used Open E for both and other tunings as well, but it's really unlocked a lot for me, the Open E slide tuning, and it makes it so easy to get George's playing. Not that his playing is easy to cover necessarily, but once you get to Open E and you understand the basics of it, it unlocks a whole new way of playing. So I'm going to do a tutorial on that. I'm also going to do a tutorial on the Travis picking of John Lennon. So look out for those. I heard that maybe John used his Stratocaster on It's All Too Much. Maybe they lent him a Casino. I don't think the Stratocaster could get that amount of feedback that's heard on the record. It's possible. I mean, Jimi Hendrix did get some feedback, of course, but it sounds like a Casino to me, and the way that the whammy bar is being played sounds like a Bigsby, which was on their Casinos, Paul and George's. Have you ever visited the Cavern in Liverpool? Magic place? No, I've been to England twice. It was my favorite place to be. I love Scotland and Ireland as well, but I've never been to Liverpool, and I really would like to go. My bad, Sam. I meant Peter, Paul, and Mary. I'm not sure which comment or question you're referring to, but I'm a huge Peter, Paul, and Mary fan. They were, from a young age, one of my favorites. Can you play the lovely Rita intro? Yes, I covered this one on this guitar very recently. They recorded it in the key of B, and by the time that the album came out, it was slowed down to more like B flat, somewhere in there. I love that song. Go check out my cover where I do both the version in the way that they recorded it in B, and then the slowed down version that I manipulated to make it sound like the album. What do you think about the Chinese replicas of Beatles guitars and basses? Of course, originals are better, but have you tried one? I've never tried the Chinese casinos, but I've heard that they're okay. A pickup upgrade would be really good on those, or some hardware, because the cheap hardware can be bad. I have the Squire Bass 6, which I think is made in Indonesia. It's not China, but that is an incredible guitar. I think cheap guitars are getting better and better. Epiphone and Squire, especially, are getting really good. So, yeah, I think that if you can't afford the originals, then get a Chinese one and upgrade it. Don't just give up on it immediately if it doesn't work with you. I think that if you have the money to buy a cheap one and put a little work into it, it can be really good. I played at the Cavern in 2019 with my rock and roll band Los Giros. Man, that is so cool. Playing at the Cavern must be a really crazy experience. Play 8 days a week rhythm. If you guys are just joining me, or if you're new to my channel, I just wanted to say thank you for joining me again. I'm trying to get to as many questions as possible. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. If you haven't followed me on Facebook or Instagram, go to Shire_Plucker, or my 3 Savile Row account on Instagram, where I post Beatles Get Back photos and reels, and I sell merch on my 3 Savile Row shop. So look that up, and also follow Gear There and Everywhere, my podcast with my Beatles friends on YouTube that we hope to have on Spotify soon. Hey, Sam, you're fantastic. Dan Phillips, thank you. Question in the end where the trio rotates through the solos. What's the order? Paul, George, John? Any knowledge on the guitars they're using? Yes, you are right. It is Paul. Then George. Then John. And then it goes back around. So yeah, Paul, George, John. I believe, I'm very certain about this, although some people would disagree, that Paul was on his Casino bridge pickup, George was on his Les Paul, and John was on his Casino with maybe a fuzz face or something into the twin reverb. It was very crunchy. So that's my opinion. Lost the questions. Could you play the intro to Every Little Thing? I did a cover of that, so what I'm playing right now might not be. Go check out my cover. Mike Pacelli did a cover lesson for Sgt. Pepper's with a telly in place of Esquire for the lead, SG for George's rhythm, and Casino for Paul's rhythm. Mike Pacelli's good, definitely. I think he's a great presenter at teaching Beatles songs on guitar. I don't agree with everything he says, but he's really good. I don't know if I agree that George was on SG for Sgt. Pepper track, but the reprise, I think that could have been George on the SG. Casino was Paul Rhythm, definitely. And the lead, yeah, it could have been Esquire or Casino. Yusuf says, is that J160 yours? It's beautiful. Oh, yes, it is all mine. 1966 original J160. The only things that have changed are the tuners have been replaced with vintage real Kluson tuners. And that's it. Just been worked on a little bit to make it really nice. Has a very thin neck. The 1966, like later Gibson had a very thin nut width, and this has a super thin neck, like an SG. So it's very comfortable and it's very clean and beautiful. I'm smitten with this one. Could you give me tips for playing rooftop using Fender Tweed amps, which is less mid-scooped? So the rooftop amps were the twin reverbs, which were very scooped. My Pro reverb is a silver face from the 70s and very similar sounding. A Tweed amp, like my little Champ, where is it? I'm trying to point at it. It's like a green screen with a weatherman. You can't like figure out where to point to. Tweed amps are actually very mid-humped. They're not scooped. But the good thing about Tweed amps is that they crunch up a lot. So I think that you could try some different pedals, like a blues driver or something a little more transparent, not a tube screamer, because that's very mid-humped. Tweed amps wouldn't be ideal for rooftop, but you can definitely make it work. Get it crunching where it's just breaking up a little bit, not too distorted. And then maybe boost it with a pedal, like a blues driver or something like a Dr. Robert. I think that would, with just a little bit of crunch, that would work. Randall Pink Floyd, hello. Michael teased his Instagram something a few days ago, something he did because of the new episode of Gear There and Everywhere, and I think I know what it is. Yes, so we have a new episode coming out in a few days for Gear There and Everywhere, and Michael Sokol bought a new guitar because of this episode. It's very exciting, so stay tuned for that. Bo Gordon, my good friend Bo Gordon, who I've known forever. I have a Continental and a Rhodes in Philly you can use for door stuff. Oh, man. Also got access to a Ludwig Jazzette, close enough to a downbeat. Bo is an incredible musician who's in Philadelphia, who I've known forever. And, yeah, he has a Continental and a Rhodes and a lot of cool gear. He's a lefty, so I can't use everything of his. But, yeah, I might have to take him up on that one. Umberto says, ciao, Sam. Hello, hello. Do you know what chords George plays on the Rick 12 during the solo in Any Time at All? Ooh, that's a good one. That's his 12 string. So the piano is also doing something in there, kind of like... I'm not playing that right, but I'm giving you the idea of what it sounds like. God, I think that George is playing something different from the piano. Probably something like... I need to cover that one. Not entirely sure about that one. Michael Sokol did a great cover of that one, if you want to have someone who actually knows what they're talking about. I was talking about when I said you should do some Please Please Me covers with your classical. Should have been more clear with that. Maybe you were saying that you just the style of Please Please Me with the classical. I still don't understand. What's your favorite George deep cut? Unconsciousness Rules is pretty great. Ooh, yeah, I love that whole period from 76 to 81, somewhere in England, and 33 and a Third, and George Harrison. I love Soft Touch. I love Unconsciousness Rules. I love See Yourself, Dear One. Such a good album. True Love. Your Love is Forever. I mean, yeah, If You Believe. I love all that stuff. I think that Somewhere in England is actually a really good album that people should go check out because it's pretty underrated. Even Gon Troppo, I have to say, there's something about it that I like. I know that's unpopular, but I said it. I commented a couple weeks ago, do you think John used the resonator on I Found Out? Sounds just like your cover of Well, Well, Well. Yes, that's a great question, Ben Wagner. I did a cover with my resonator with the pickup for Well, Well, Well. I did that direct into my board, although John probably plugged into an amp. It's just very crunchy in a really weird, kind of revolution-y way. I Found Out is very similar sounding, but it does have tremolo coming from John's Fender Showman amp. It could be Casino. It could be the middle position on the Casino. That's what I'm struggling with, because I could just cover it the same way I did Well, Well, Well with the bass and drums, and it would be great. But I can't decide if it's Casino or not. I'll just have to mess around. David Zenner played Cavern International Beatles Week 2003. Surreal. Oh man, playing the Cavern. I've heard that it's like when people are inside of it. I don't know if it's the same way it was in the early days, but I've been reading the Mal Evans book that came out by Ken Womack, and it described the sweat and the condensation dripping from the walls in the cavern. So I'm curious if that was true as well. How do you record your amp with the condensers without getting background noise? I really want to keep on doing covers. That's a great question. So I use I'll show you actually. I use this Neumann TLM 103 condenser. It's an amazing mic, and I put it sometimes pretty close to my amps, which usually for a condenser, it's very sensitive and it will overload. So if you look at pictures of the Beatles with their Vox amps, they actually put their U67 condensers right in the middle and right up near the grill. And I don't understand how it didn't overload the mic or the preamp. But what I do is I usually just put the mic about 6 inches to 10 inches away from the grill of the cab. And I just keep my signal pretty low. But you're talking about the background noise, because condenser mics compress, so you hear the subtle noises that might be happening in the background, or if your amp is humming, you might hear some of that. What I would do is try to locate the source of the noise coming from your guitar amp. If you do this and it goes away, you have a RF radio frequency humming, 60 cycle hum, which is pretty common. So maybe just try playing at an angle. It could be another issue with your amp if it's really that noisy, but I don't know if I have tips to get rid of that noise. Maybe just put the mic a little closer so you don't get any extraneous noise. Can you play Blackbird? I never heard of that song. Wrong guitar for this. Haven't quite gotten that Paul McCartney weird picking pattern down. Do you have any interest in doing more Buddy Holly covers? Absolutely. Buddy is like a hero of mine, and there's so many songs of his that need to just be played and people don't know about, that I really want to get out there. So yes, I wish I had like a Sunburst Strat, but you can't have everything. I have a Strat, so I'm just going to use that for Buddy. Hi Sam, what's your opinion on the analogs? Do you spot main differences in their covers apart from the vocals? The analogs are incredible. They're this I want to say Dutch or Danish band. They're somewhere in the Netherlands or Scandinavia, and they do note for note Beatles covers live, all in one take, singing, performing with keyboards and drums and everything. They're probably the best at that. I don't really like follow a lot of Beatles tribute live bands. I should, because I cover Beatles songs, but every time I watch the analogs, I'm like, okay, I would see that band live. They just know how to pick apart the nuances in the playing and the studio techniques and bringing that into a live setting. It's much different from other Beatles tribute bands that want to dress like them and get the vibe of like the early Beatles, which is great. But I don't think anyone does it like the analogs. They're really incredible. Do you know when the next Here, There, and Everywhere upload will be? Yes, we upload. Oh God, is it Wednesday or Thursday? I think we upload every Thursday. Oh God, I hope I'm not wrong on that one. Um, check Wednesday or Thursday for the next episode. It's every other week. So I believe this coming week, there will be a new episode. Um, which is the weirdest band that you really like that has nothing to do with the Beatles or 60s, 70s bands? I love this guy, Tallest Man on Earth, who's a Swedish folk singer who sounds like Bob Dylan, who does these alternate picking. I love Nick Drake. So that kind of alternate tuning, finger picking folk stuff is some of my favorites. Donovan's great at that too. I like a lot of bands other than Beatles. It's just, I got caught up in doing this and they're one of my favorites. So it just makes sense. But I listen to a lot of Bruce Springsteen, Queen, Everly Brothers, Little Richard, a lot of stuff. It's hard to count how many bands. The Strokes too. Greetings from Tulsa, Oklahoma, Timothy. Hey Tim, are you a fan of the Beach Boys? Pet Sounds, Smile? Oh yes, absolutely, incredible stuff. Smile might be even better than Pet Sounds. It was never released, but that's a good one. What's your list of most complex Beatles songs? Oh gosh. I think there are some songs like Not Guilty or Savoy Truffle that are kind of complex in a way. Obviously, the Sgt. Pepper stuff like Day in the Life and Lucy in the Sky, there's a lot of interesting things happening in that era. A lot of Magical Mystery Tour, All You Need Is Love has a lot going on. It depends what you mean by complex, because like sometimes their playing was very simple, but like back in the USSR, playing somewhat simple, but there's a lot going on in the production. So really depends. I don't know. George Martin's orchestrations in My Life is very complex, the solo. Do you think the Beatles would have met again if John hadn't been killed? It's one of the few bands never played again after they split up. It's very sad. I do think that John had interest in reuniting with them. I think they all did, and they eventually did without John. And I've heard that John even was going to go on tour after, like a year after he had passed, like in '81. He wanted to plan a world tour, go back to England, get back with the band. It's really sad what happened, but yeah, they this year Now and Then came out. It's Beatles is still going on strong. Do you know the song World Without Love? Yes, Peter and Gordon, written by McCartney. I don't know how to play it, but it's a great one. Dan, greetings from Rosario, Argentina. Hello. He says, you are great. Thank you so much. I have a lot of fans from Argentina. So anyone in Argentina out there, Buenos Aires, hello. Hi, Sam. I'm a big fan of your work. Greetings from Brazil. I would like to ask, have you ever been able to pick up the bass that's going on in Hold Me Tight? Oh, that's a good one. I haven't explored the Hofner on that one too much, but it's in F. Really need a pinky, extended pinky for that one. Paul's singing, so I can't imagine it's too complicated. I'll have to listen. One of the guitars is doing that. I can't imagine that he could sing and do quite that. I mean, Paul could do almost anything, but I think it's a little more simple than that. Love the kitties in the background doing typical kitty stuff. They've been crazy. Yeah, I'm excited that it's going to be imprinted on this live stream forever. Any word on the George Slides style playing tutorial? Yeah, I'd mentioned earlier I'm going to do that. I'm going to do a rooftop Lennon Casino tone tutorial, Travis picking, Jessica Cosi. Hi, Sam. Hi, Jess in Italy. Jess is an amazing singer and cover artist on YouTube as well that I've played on her channel a bit. So go check her out. If you do a Dylan cover I'd love to hear Stuck Inside Mobile with the Memphis Blues again. That's a great song. One of George Harrison's favorites too. Brainwashed, I think, is an overlooked album from Harrison. Absolutely. Brainwashed is great. I still think Gone Troppo is probably the most hated, but a good one. I can't get into Extra Texture. That's the one that I struggle with a little bit. Favorite Buddy Holly riff on what song more specifically? Ooh, so there are a few. Heartbeat is a really good one. Oh God, there's so many Buddy riffs that are great. I like Lonesome Tears a lot. And the solo goes like. That's a really good one. I like Tell Me How. Oh man, so many. I need to do more Buddy Holly. Let's see. Isaiah, hey Isaiah. He says for Hold Me Tight, Paul just plays AGA. I'm not sure if he's thinking of Hold Me Tight actually. A lot of questions coming in. I gotta catch up. Oh, Beatles are cool. I said PPM, meaning Peter, Paul, and Mary. Then I realized that it could also stand for Please Please Me. So I meant you should do Peter, Paul, and Mary covers with your classical. Got it. Well, I'll do both because I love Peter, Paul, and Mary and Please Please Me. Do you plan on doing Dear Prudence? I think it was Casino DI and Les Paul. Yes. Now that I have the J160, I have all the bases covered with that song in case it was J160. But we did an episode on Gear There and Everywhere where we determined it probably was Casino DI, possibly SG by George. Gon Troppo gets a bad rap mostly since George himself dismissed it. I like it too. The sweat and condensation is definitely true. David had played at the cavern. He was saying the walls were dripping with sweat, which is lovely. Let's see. How long have you been playing keyboards? I learned, as I said earlier on, piano and violin from a young age, but beyond kind of just as a kid playing a little piano here and there. When I took up guitar at age 11, I learned piano a little bit more seriously. So around the age of 13, I would say I really got into it, learning Freddie Mercury, Bruce Springsteen, and Paul McCartney stuff mainly. As some of you know, I taught myself, so I don't use my right thumb that much, which is really bizarre, and I can't seem to go back now that I learned it that way, which is upset some people. You should try a Revolution cover, scuffed covers. Yes. So I have this plan. So I bought a Bigsby for my casino, and I'm planning on putting it on as well as some nylon saddles. And what I want to do is before I put the Bigsby on the casino, I want to get some classic Lennon covers done because he used the trapeze bridge and it just would look better. So before I make the mod, I'm going to do Revolution, get back a few classic Lennon casino covers. You ever listen to the mono mixes for any potentially hidden guitar parts? Yes. So it depends which cover, which song you're doing because the mono and the stereo have different parts. For example, Helter Skelter ends at a different point. There's so many cool variations with mono and stereo, but yes, like I'm Only Sleeping, there's like different parts that come out in the mono mix. So maybe when I do that one, I'll listen for that mix. I usually just isolate the tracks, listen to other people's isolations, study as much as I can before I cover it, although I still make mistakes. You're only supposed to use your thumb and index. Henry, I don't know if he's talking about piano or some other thing. Can you play Old Brown Shoe? There you go. Hey Sam, glad to see you live. What do you use to record covers and what's the process? That's a great question. I did a little quick process demonstration for my Long and Winding Road cover a while ago, but things have changed a little bit. I have a new system, but I use generally Pro Tools to edit and iMovie to edit the film, the video. I use real microphones into a Focusrite interface, and it's pretty much it. I just use plugins to tweak, and that's about it. Just real mics, real amps. I don't like the simulated stuff, unless plugins, you just have to, obviously. I know you really like the 60s and 70s type stuff, but what are your thoughts on 90s grunge and punk? I'm huge on Nirvana. I love Radiohead. I love The Clash, The Ramones, The Smiths, which I guess aren't really punk, but Elvis Costello. I love a lot of other bands. The 90s I struggle with a little bit with the production, but certain groups like Nirvana and Radiohead, um, even like early Coldplay, I think is pretty good. Yeah, I'm not a big Oasis fan, to be honest, but Blur is good. I don't want to get in trouble here. Your videos are a great resource for learning how to play Beatles songs, just like Galizio Fredua for their harmonies. Oh yeah, that guy is amazing. Aiden Hickey says that. Thank you for the kind words. Do you have any other Beatles acoustic guitars besides the J160? Not specifically. Like, I have a 12-string Gibson, I have a J45. I do have the J200 clone and a Martin 0018 and my classical, but none of them are literally the model. Like, this is a real Beatle guitar. They're all kind of close, but not quite the actual model they used. Do you use that Neumann mic direct the audio interface, or do you use a preamp? I used to use it direct in the interface, but now I'm using a UA LA610 preamp, tube preamp, which is really nice. I'm just getting used to it. It's new, but it's really nice. It doesn't really change the Focusrite preamps aren't great to begin with, and you can't quite get rid of that, but it does add a nice warmth to it. Check out Fab Four. Yes, they're boots and suits, but they do all eras very well. The George was a former roommate of mine. That's really cool. The Fab Four are great, and the Fab Four, I believe, are also a good band. There are a lot of great tribute bands out there, and I don't mean to knock them at all. I just never really went and saw them. But the Analogs, like, they were in town. I really would want to see them. How do you manage to pick out the individual parts in songs, Zachary Brown? I kind of talked about that before, but I isolate using mvsep.com, I believe it is, to isolate the tracks, which actually helps with copyright a little bit. And I just use my ears. I don't really trust the sheet music. Even some other people on YouTube, not the guys that I like hanging out with, of course, Gear There and Everywhere. They do just as good, if not a better job than me. But some, like, people who do lessons, really, like on the Beatles, they get some stuff wrong. And I don't really want to trust any resources that just make bold claims without real evidence. So I feel like our ears are the best evidence if you have a good ear to pick it out. And I do have a good ear. So I just isolate the tracks, go into Pro Tools and make notes, little markers to dissect the parts. And then as I'm playing, I look at the markers, the notes. I don't know if that explains it well. Also, do you know the podcast Nothings is Real? No, I don't. That sounds like it would be something I would like, though. But you guys should check out Gear There and Everywhere podcast, obviously. And also Fans on the Run, Ethan Alexanian. I was on his podcast with the other guys from our podcast recently. Is there a Beatles song impossible to cover because it's super difficult? Impossible, I haven't come across any that like are physically impossible, except for some reason that I Feel Fine intro. That's easy enough to play, but if you listen to the actual recording, John is doing something like this. It's a little trill that he does. And I don't know how he could do that. Michael Sokill did a little a cover recently, and it was incredible. But what he had to actually overdub a little extra part in there, going in order to get that. I don't know how John managed to do it. It's actually incredible. Did George Harrison use an open E tuning for slide on most of his post Beatles songs? Yes. Or did he play in standard for quite a bit of them? Is My Sweet Lord standard? So most George Harrison slide is open E. There are some standard ones like How Do You Sleep? He used open G a little bit sometimes for like If Not For You and Cloud 9, I believe. But generally open E is the way to go. Do you like Wings as well? I love them. Yes, I love Wings. I'm still getting into like, Denny Lane and like all the Wings stuff. Also rest in peace, Denny Lane, of course. Very sad. But yeah, I love Wings. I just need to fill out the discography a little bit more in my head. Because I love them. I love their songs, but I just need to, pick apart more. Play the guitar, mate. All right, I'm talking too much here. So many questions. I gotta keep on it, but I do need to play more. Do you know Mike Pacelli? He's another Beatles guitar. Yeah, I just commented about Mike Pacelli. He's really good. I prefer some of these other guys like Mike Sokol and like what we do on our covers channels, because I think that we pick apart the little nuances a little bit better. Mike is better at teaching, giving lessons, and coming across in a personable way, which is not easy. Can we hear the J160 plugged in? I would, but I don't think you could hear it much because of my mic. You'd still hear some of this. I'm doing covers with the AC30 that are going to come out soon. Are you planning to come over to Europe and play live Beatles stuff and meet us? Oh man, I would love to. I need to get into like a real Beatles tribute band, I guess, first. Excuse me. As I said, I'm going to Beatles Fest in New York and playing with Andrew Weiss and friends. So I will be doing a Beatles tribute concert for the first time, February 10th, if you guys are in New York. But I would love to come to Europe. I'm a beginner on guitar. This is Yusuf. Any tips on knowing how to start learning by ear or getting better? I know how to play a lot of chords, but I'm not good at knowing which chord is being played. It just takes a lot of time. And I would just try to learn as many songs as you can. And what I would do is don't just learn a riff and then stop. Like, for example, Day Tripper. It takes time just to learn that riff. But if you can then learn, great. What about the solo though, right? That whole thing. So learning a song from start to finish as best you can, you're going to learn a lot about the fretboard, especially if you learn a solo. I would just say stick with it. Watch some YouTube videos on theory, understanding fretboard and chords and theory and circle of fifths. But or you could take video lessons with me. I actually teach Zoom lessons if any of you guys are interested. I have a very fair price, and if you want me to teach you guitar or another instrument over Zoom, let me know. Let's see. Why is recording the Beatles book New Edition taking so long to be released? I didn't know that was coming out, a new version of that. I love that book. I think that's Mark Lewison. I could be wrong. By the way, if you ever want to do an early mid cover, I'm free to collab on Hofner. Boredom as always. That's really nice of you. Yeah, you guys can message me if you want to try to collaborate. I don't do a lot of collaborations. I kind of like to get to know people first before I just hop into a collaboration. So, yeah, let me know. Would you cover the word with your harmonium, Aiden? I did a little bit of harmonium for the word for Michael's channel, but it didn't sound great. My harmonium's very cheap and specific sounding. It's not great, but the word is one of my favorite riffs by George or Paul or John. It's very like Motown and so much fun to play. I just love that song. What "Don't Pass Me By" version do you prefer? The mono, faster, higher pitch version, or the stereo, slower in C major version? I like all of them. I actually like that song a lot. I think the mono is probably the coolest. The Mono White album is really underrated. So I would listen to that one. MG Studios, my question is, what inspired you to record and play covers, and where do you find the information to play certain instruments in certain songs? That's a great question. So my YouTube channel started when I released my album in 2015. I mentioned before that you can find it on my channel. And then it kind of sat, and I didn't have a YouTube channel other than those songs being up till about 2021. I had all this gear in this studio and I wanted to do something with it. And I watched That Pedal Show a lot and other YouTube demos. And I just love guitars and gear. So I wanted to demo some of that. And I started to do that on my channel. And then I realized that there were a lot of songs out there that were a little more obscure, or maybe even not obscure, like My Sweet Lord, that no one had fully covered yet in the way that I've always understood it. So I thought, okay, I'll just give it a try, do a few covers, maybe some like Bruce Springsteen covers that people don't do. And then I did some of that, and then Get Back came out in 2021, and I thought, okay, maybe it's a good time to release one of those era covers like I Me Mine. So I did that and it just blew up, and I wasn't expecting the Beatles covers to be so popular. I don't know why I thought that, but it's true. And it just took off from there. And I realized that, oh, there are other people doing Beatles covers really well and much better than I am, but there are some songs that no one has gotten yet. So I just thought, this is a really fun opportunity to use all my gear. I know all these songs, so it just kind of came about that way. In terms of finding the information about instruments, the guys in our podcast are similar, and they can speak to this. That it takes a lot of time to dissect through dates and pictures and using your ear to understand how a certain guitar sounds. There are some things we'll never know, but we have good guesses based on the information from the studios, the pictures, recollections, and books. So any information, excuse me, if you have a song like, let's see, I Need You, George Martin actually made a list of the instruments played on that song and a few others during Help. So that's really helpful. We know exactly what they used from George Martin. In other cases, we'll never know. Like Glass Onion, was it a Strat or a Les Paul that George was playing? It sounds like a Strat to me, but sometimes you have to use your ear. Trying to get through all your questions. Someone was playing along to If I Fell. Maybe I'll play a little bit more for you guys and end kind of soon. Isaiah says, I can confirm Sam's lessons are outstanding and you will learn. Yeah, I taught Isaiah, who's with us today. Henry number 3, I know the answer, but tell everyone who you think is doing what in Old Brown Shoe. Oh, man. That's a whole can of worms. I don't know if I want to open up, but I can get into it. If you have the Abbey Road box set, Giles Martin claims that Old Brown Shoe was a date in which Ringo wasn't there for because he was filming the Magic Christian movie, which is true. He was filming it, but if you listen to the drums from that day, Giles is claiming that Paul had to have played drums. It's a shuffle beat. And Paul actually admits in interviews he cannot do that beat. So I believe that it had to be Ringo on drums. I don't think Paul could have Paul could have pulled off that drum beat. So that raises questions. That changes the lineup of Giles, what he says it is. So I believe it was Ringo on drums. I believe that it had to have been John or Paul on the main guitar that you hear on the outtake, at least. The reason I believe that is because there's a piano and a guitar and drums as the basic track, and you hear George singing along. And there's that part in the bridge. The guitar is doing that very efficiently, and George is singing. I believe it would be very hard to sing that part and play that at the same time. I may appear to be imperfect. It's very hard. So I think George was playing piano. It's more simple, and it's a little sloppy. George wasn't a great piano player. So that's my opinion. The solo is definitely George. The bass is a whole nother thing. I don't know if I have time to get into, but that's my theory. Let's see. I might want to play some more music, but which Beatle would you be if you joined a tribute band like the Fab Four or Ram? I think I'd have to be George because I can't do Lefty or sing like Paul, but I can do George lead stuff. So I think that. Who is this? I learned a lot about their individual playing styles by looking at your videos. For example, John was a steady and disciplined rhythm guitarist that works very well and creates a steady groove. That's very nice of you to say. I think that I do my best to get a close playing style, but I can't quite get Lennon's strumming or George's finesse of his picking that well. Like I know that I can cover these songs in a good way, but if you look at Dom Rossi, his covers, his fingers look like George's. Like he just has like the right shape fingers and the thumb wrapping around. I have very short hands, small hands, so I don't know. I do my best. That's all I'll say. Hello, Sam. What is your opinion of the Gibson Melody Maker? I never played one. It's a cheaper Gibson guitar with kind of like Mustang like pickups, like rubber pickups in it. I think they're supposed to be like a very lower student model, but pretty affordable these days if you want like a vintage Gibson. That's kind of cool. Henry, number 3 again. What do you think of Michael Sokil's The Word, Dear Prudence theory? Well, we did the Dear Prudence episode. I can't remember what his theory on the word is, though. You'll have to remind me. Someone said, are you familiar with Abley House? Yes, I talked about them a lot. They're incredible. What kind of sitar do you have in the back? This is a Huron Roy, which is the big manufacturer that Ravi Shankar and George used. George used later on. It's the really professional one, but this is like a travel sitar, it's called. So it's got guitar headstock tuners on the top, and it's smaller, and it has a few less strings. I think it's a very cheap one, considering it's a Huron Roy. You can find very cheap sitars out there. It's just a lot of maintenance, and I haven't quite gotten into how to intonate the instrument yet. Your cover of What Goes On is spectacular. Oh, thank you, Aiden. That was one of the most painful covers I've ever done because I was committed to getting it all in one take. Both guitars, no cuts, no video edit cuts. And John's part should be easy in theory, but there's so many little nuances. And with George's picking, that one was an absolute nightmare to do, but I love that song. I think I did a good job on it, although the tone, I didn't have an AC30 yet, so that doesn't sound quite right. Rock and Roll and a Whole Lot of Music says, honestly, it was weird seeing your covers at first. I thought there were too many Beatles covers at the time, but you really dug deep into the process. Yeah, it's an oversaturated, at least now it is, field. But as I said, I wanted to cover songs that no one had done before, like Helter Skelter Bass on the right, bass 6. I'm proud of that one. I'm basically doing what Matty Boo is doing and just trying to upload more and do songs that he hasn't done yet. So that's essentially it. How many basses are there in While My Guitar Gently Weeps? I believe there's one main bass part on a jazz bass by Paul McCartney, and then I believe that John or George played a bass 6 along with the 12 string. You can see my cover where I do the bass 6, at least that part. So I think 2 technically. Isaiah, yeah, this channel was groundbreaking for me. Back then, I only watched Abley House and Maddie Boo, and as much as they're good, their upload schedule is not the fastest. Well, thank you, Isaiah. I'm good at uploading often. Doesn't mean I'm good at playing or I sound as good, but at least I am consistent. So when I watched your My Sweet Lord cover, I realized you were uploading so quick. It was truly groundbreaking for Beatles covers. Well, thank you. I'm just glad that this channel helps you guys. It's so much fun for me, and your feedback is what makes this channel work. So just wanted to thank everyone for coming out today and watching me blab on and answer questions. I'm going to do a little playing for you and answer a few more questions, and then it's been almost 2 hours, so I want to get going. Any requests before I end this shebang? I'll answer a question while you request something. Would you be able to do a cover of Love You Too? No, never seen anyone do that. Yeah, I want to do a sitar cover of it. It's incredibly hard. Use this guitar as rhythm and then a Rick bass with fuzz. So I'm kind of waiting to fill out my collection before I do it, but it's really hard. Henry Studio says apparently there's a fill in the word that when slowed down sounds virtually identical to that bit in Dear Prudence. Oh, I guess you're talking about the drums, because some people say Ringo or Paul played drums on Dear Prudence. I think it was Paul. But Michael, I think maybe Michael had said it sounds like Ringo towards the end of Dear Prudence. I think Paul was able to do certain fills similar. So I think that it depends on the style. I think it was Paul on Dear Prudence. Are you aware of the YouTuber known as Nico Slash? No, I don't. I'll have to check him out. Any songs you think George used the Gibson ES335? It actually was an ES345 that George used. And yes, I think he did use it in Rubber Soul because Man with No Expression and I found some photos in Rubber Soul sessions where George, you can see the 345 in the background. I think he probably used it on Michelle and Day Tripper. Possibly I'm Looking Through You, that distorted part. Let's see, any covers? I Need You by George Harrison, Jacob K. Well, it is Jacob K's birthday, and I would like to wish my buddy a happy birthday and play this song for him. How does it go? Happy birthday, buddy. Let's answer a few more questions, and then I'm going to hit the road. Try to get through them. A Day in the Life. Do you think John played the bar G chord or open G chord? I always thought it was open. Ooh, actually, the bar sounds pretty good, doesn't it? I don't think about that one. That's interesting. How long did it take you to learn how to play the Beatles songs accurately, and how did you do that? I've been listening to the Beatles songs since I was a little kid, and it's been on loop. So in my mind, I always know how it goes. When I started learning guitar, I learned most of their songs, not all of them. But so when I cover them, it's not like I'm learning the songs from scratch. I already know most of the chords and how it goes. So the difficulty is covering it in the right timing, getting the little nuances of the playing. That's the difficult part. Are all your effects played through pedals or do you use some digital processing? Aiden, that's a great question. I use pedals to get the amp to sound a little bit better, different, crunchier, more different EQ, brightness, stuff like that. And then I'll use some modulation pedals like Leslie, phasers, depending on the song. I will use plugins digitally afterwards. So I use like a reverb from Abbey Road, Waves plugin, or I always do a little EQ and compression in every cover afterwards digitally, because no matter what you do with a microphone and an amp and all the right stuff, you can get it to sound really close, but you always need to tweak a little bit afterwards. Run for Your Life. Helter Skelter on acoustic. Can you play This Boy? I Want to Hold Your Hand. I'll do one of those to end this, but let me just answer another question, then we'll say goodbye. The Mole Cares, you do excellent work, Sam. I really appreciate what you do. Sokol, Dom, and Juodet, that's another great one, Juodet, among others, do. It feels like you guys have taken the torch of Matty Boo and Abley House in analysis of the Beatles. I agree, at least with the other guys. I think that we are more consistent, as Isaiah said, in uploading, but really we're carrying the torch. Although Michael Sokol was one of the original Beatles YouTubers, so it's not like he's like a new guy. He had an old channel that he deleted some of the stuff, but he was always around. What's your favorite pedal? My MXR Phase 100 from 1975. I love phaser pedals. All right, guys, I think it's time to wrap it up. I'm going to do one more song. I think I'm going to do Run for Your Life because that's a really fun one to play on this guitar. Well, thank you so much, guys, for joining me. This was so much fun. My first live stream of the year. Happy New Year to everyone. Hope you're doing well. I hope this year is more peaceful than the last. It's been a hard year for some of us. And wishing peace to everyone out there in the world. Thank you for subscribing. You've helped me reach 15,000 subscribers. It's unbelievable to me. On my Savile Row account, you helped me reach 100,000 followers on Instagram. So one more plug: subscribe, like, follow me on Instagram, Shire_Plucker. My other Instagram, 3 Savile Row. Follow our podcast, Gear There and Everywhere, on YouTube. Hopefully on Spotify soon. And yeah, I really appreciate everything you guys do. You challenge me to be better. You inspire me to learn more about the Beatles, and your feedback encourages me to keep playing and doing this fun hobby that has become I don't know. I just love this community of the Beatles. I never thought I would find this kind of thing. Any parting words, people? Go to Michael's SoundCloud and yours. Yeah, I do have a SoundCloud. Check me out on SoundCloud and Bandcamp. You can find my 3 Miles Gone album on my YouTube channel. Also, Uncle Kingsley is my band. Follow us on Spotify. And Andrew Weiss and Friends, who I play with, we will be playing Beatles Fest February 10th in New York. So definitely come see us and meet me in person. I've yet to meet a fan on the streets or whatever, which sounds weird to say, but I think it will happen one day. Yeah. What do you think of Michelle being a plugged-in Gibson like this? Could be the tone rolled down. Guitar Gear Connection just joined. Paulie Pesos. Do you think they use flat wounds? Paul is our Gear There and Everywhere member, and he is passionate about the Beatles strings. And congrats, Paul, on your new family member who you welcomed this week. Well, I got to go, guys, but I wanted to thank David Montes and Jacob K and Henry and Isaiah, Paul, and all you guys for joining. It's always so much fun. I got to do this more often. I'll just play you out. How's that sound? What should I play? Everyone wanted this boy.